And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. The Inside the Birds podcast you can get on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, don't forget all their great YouTube content. Just search Inside the Birds. It's a happy hour Friday. That means Adam Caplan is here as we are within 2 weeks now of most training camps. The Eagles open up in report in 11 days from now, Adam. And we got a lot of things about the Eagles we're going to dive into, including this Eagles team's chances to make the playoffs. We talked about the conference on Tuesday, but it'll be interesting to kind of zone in on just this team in the division and their home games and all sorts of fun stuff today for our listeners. What's going on, man?
Yeah, no, good to be with you, Mike. So I'm headed actually to Connecticut to a football camp. So I'm looking forward to that. But getting back to the Eagles, it's really interesting. The national perspective is that they're better than last year because the roster's better, and obviously you've got the coordinator changes, which certainly should help the team. But I don't get the feeling people are completely sold this team, whether it's the losing 6 out of 7, terrible game against the Buccaneers. That's on a lot of people's minds because that was the last game that they played. But clearly people think this team will be better than last year.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens.
A lot of people do. I know the ESPN Bet Super Bowl odds have the Eagles with the 4th best odds right now. As we open up this Friday, it's the Chiefs, it's the Niners, it's the Ravens, and then it's the Eagles at plus 550. They actually like them the same as the Lions at plus 550. So those are your top 5 Super Bowl betting odds right now over at ESPN Bet, which would mean if they like them to win the Super Bowl with the 5th best odds, I would have to imagine to bet them to make the playoffs is a pretty easy one.
Yeah. I mean, that to make this again, now you look at that NFC East. We've not had a repeat winner since 2004, so you're talking 20 years. So the odds would be that the Cowboys won't repeat. It's up to the Eagles, Giants, or Commandos. Well, we know the Giants aren't making the playoffs. They've got all sorts of issues with the roster. Quarterback's coming back from a major knee injury. Washington's in a rebuild mood with a new offense, new defense, new coaching staff, new front office, new ownership. Josh Harrison, his first full year of ownership. But, as we talked about on your show before, Mike, there's going to be a team that comes out of nowhere. No one's picking to make the playoffs. Washington's on my top 3 of that list. I'm not willing to say it now. I'll be at their camp for 2 days in August. Let me talk to them and see how they feel and how other teams feel about it. But, again, if the last 20 years means anything, Cowboys aren't going to repeat.
Yeah, we know that the repeat thing is a crazy stat, 2004. But another one is to have dominance in the division, which is what the Eagles generally did in the Andy Reid era. They just whitewashed everybody in the division. What are the chances for them to win every division game, a perfect 6-0?
Well, yeah. So that one, Mike, what was like plus
1,000.
Yeah. See, could they sweep the Giants? Absolutely. I know what happened last year. The Eagles, that was during the Eagles collapse where they got smoked with the Giants. Also, A.J. Brown hurt his knee in that game, I believe in the first half on a crosser. Look, could they sweep the Giants? Yeah. It's just so hard to win all 6 games. It's really hard to do that. Now, is that worth putting down $20? Of course. You're somebody who likes those numbers. Why not? What do you have to lose? If you win that, so it's plus 1,000, right?
Yep.
That's a heck of a windfall if that happens. It's not that far-fetched, by the way.
No, I mean, I think the chance to beat the Giants twice, you generally feel pretty good about. They're one of the weaker teams, and the Eagles have kind of owned them. The Commanders always seem to kind of give you a fit, throughout the years. The Commanders have been a little bit of a problem, but I think they swept them last year. But it's that Dallas game. The split with Dallas is one, if you could somehow get both games with Dallas, who are, by the way, plus 850 right now at ESPN Bet to win the Super Bowl. They're plus 150, as we talked about on Tuesday, to win the division. That Dallas game would be the one. So if you like them to sweep Dallas, you probably sprinkle a couple bucks at plus 1,000 to win all 6 division games.
Yeah, I would agree, Mike. I think that's actually a very fair number. And one that's realistic, it's It's not easy, but it's. I think the plus 1,000. I would have it more plus 600 because why do I say that? The Eagles are the best team in the division. I know they have the collapse, but remember now, discipline is going to be way better with the coaching. The coaching is going to be better. Revised coaching staff, particularly on defense. A proven offensive scheme. Kellen Moore is a good coach. Things are positive right now. I don't see a collapse. I really don't. I don't see what happened last year happening this time around.
No, and Lane Johnson was on the radio the other day with Colin Cowherd, and it seemed that he hinted as well that the coaching, he said we didn't make enough adjustments, and we think we got that figured out. So there's another player, veteran player, kind of hinting that maybe their coordinators were in a little over their head last year.
Well, you know what happened on defense, Mike, and then you saw the freelancing under Matt Patricia, who made some adjustments on the defense, which didn't work. That was a disaster. Then you look at the offense, and things got figured out. Hurts really collapsed in the second half of the season. Had his moments in the first half, sort of uneven. Second half, it just wasn't as good. But the thing about the Eagles' collapse, as we pointed out on our show Inside the Birds, we listed the 10 issues that we got from people around the league, including club sources, about what they thought happened. And one of them, obviously, was the scheme and how things just didn't look the same because you're trying to run plays that Hurts could execute, and when he didn't, they didn't really have a plan B, and I don't see that happening here with Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Another fun one to kind of dive into. This is really hard at plus 2,000. Win all your home games. Now, is the Brazil game in that mix? Does that count?
It does. Yes, it does. But see, Mike, here's the thing about the Brazil game. Like, had this been an England game, I'd be like, you know what? Teams have gone over England for several years. We know that area. The league has never played in Brazil before. So we don't know how much of that at home field is going to be. That's a tough one, Mike. There's really no way to quantify that. Yes, it's definitely a home game, and it sucks that the fans got robbed in Philly not to have it to link, but it's kind of interesting because we have no idea what kind of crowd it's going to be like.
Yeah, that one's very interesting to be down there in Brazil. We'll see. Adam Caplan, football at 4, having a little fun on this happy hour Friday as we are about 2 weeks from the start of Eagles training camp on July 23rd. That's when everybody has to report. Somebody's reporting tomorrow, I think. Some of these rookies are jumping in and getting ready to go tomorrow. Win all your road games, plus 8,000. That's a really special season.
Well, you know what's interesting, Mike? Nick Sirianni, for his first 3 seasons, one of the best coaches on the road in the National Football League. And it's usually not like that when you have a new coaching staff. They're usually better at home than they are on the road. It's been fascinating. I can't. They've got. Look, it's kind of a favorable schedule, by the way, overall. If you look at the way the teams are constructed this season on their schedule, I can't see that. It's so hard to do that in today's NFL. It really is. Could they go? Could they have just 2 losses? Sure. We know about the Rams. They've had success there for a long time. Got to win at Dallas. You mentioned that earlier. That's not going to be easy. There's some other games we'll talk about down the line once we get closer to the season, when we break the games down, when we know more. Yeah, I kind of like that. I like the one to win division way better, to be honest. To go undefeated division, I think that's more realistic.
Yeah, the Division One as opposed to the road games. Just winning on the road is tough. To win all your road games, and that's why it's priced at 8,000 plus 8,000 there. But to win all 6 division games, that's plus 1,000. I think you got a much better chance there. To lose all your home games, man, plus 100,000. That is appropriately priced.
And you know what? I'll keep my dollar. I wouldn't even.
Right.
I don't know, with friends over the years, it could be fantasy football, or you have a sports argument, and they go, I'll bet you $50. Like, this is one. If a friend of mine said, I'll give you 1,000 to 1 odds, I wouldn't do it. There's no way in hell the Eagles are losing all their road games. That ain't happening.
No,
Or
no.
was it home games or road games?
All their home games is plus
That'll
1,000.
never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now to lose all their road games is actually less. It's plus 30,000 because there's a chance you go on the road, you lose a game, so plus 30,000. But I still don't see that unless you think this team has real big problems and hey, they can't fix it. You go on the road, you lose plus 30,000.
Yeah, you know what, Mike? That's one where I want to look at the props for 1 loss of the road, 2 loss of the road, 3. Because that's when you go game by game and go, okay, you know what? I see them losing this game, kind of thing. That's the thing that you look at when you're looking long term, where we are in around mid-July before camp start. But that, yeah, again, I can't. That's another one I would not take.
All right, this one's interesting. I definitely want to dive into this one a little deeper. To start 5-0, you've got Green Bay, Atlanta, at New Orleans, at Tampa, and home against Cleveland. They seem like 5. Now, Green Bay's tough. Atlanta's the favorite in the South, as we talked about on Tuesday. Tampa beat you last year. They're a playoff team, and a lot of people like Cleveland, but it's at home. They sound like 5 winnable games. Plus 800 to start the season, 5-0.
Yeah, I do like that one, Mike. Look, it's hard to start a season like that. The Green Bay game is tough. The Eagles are now a 1.5-point favorite the last time I looked. We don't know about the home field advantage with that one. You got to figure it's going to be at least slight. Now, I know the Green Bay fans travel very well. That Atlanta game, Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles at 36. They'll be better because the offensive scheme is better. And Raheem Morris is defensive head coach, but he's turning it over to a first-time play caller in Zach Robinson. Going to run a West Coast offense. But you know what the real tough one to me is now? That Cleveland game in here in Philly, the Jim Schwartz revenge game, I'm joking. You've got a lot of former Cleveland people former Eagles people with Cleveland, but we need to understand Deshaun Watson has not played well since the 2020 season where he was great. The team was bad. The defense was non-competitive, but he was phenomenal. He hasn't played good football since then. You can't find one good game that he's played since that season, Mike, and that's why I would count that as an Eagles win. But they're going to have a lot going for them on both sides of football, particularly for defense, Mike. They got one of the best defenses in the National Football League. That'll be a tough one, but I would think the Eagles would win that because of the uncertainty of how Watson could play.
Yeah, they are such a wild card just because of him. I think, if Joe Flacco was the quarterback of that team, would you feel better?
Yeah. It was really odd. You know what's interesting about that story, my reporting for this stuff? He wanted to come back. They wanted him back. They indicated at the combine they were going to re-sign him. And at the last minute, they backed off and signed Jameis Winston. He signed a 1-year, $4 million deal with the Colts. But he loved it, and they loved him. That was a very odd decision. One was kind of convoluted from when I was talking to someone with the Browns. I don't quite understand it. But, yeah, that was that to me was a mistake. Watson's coming off of, by the way, major right shoulder surgery with 2 areas repaired. That's a problem.
All right, Adam Caplan, football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. Yeah, Cleveland would be that 5th game if they can get that. At Tampa, they played at Tampa last year for the playoff game, and then week 2, the game was at Tampa as well, right? So this will be the 3rd time in a row they'll play Tampa down there. Yeah,
and the Eagles smoked Tampa. Their defense was phenomenal that game. And then you know what's happened in the last 2 playoff games against Tampa? In fact, not only that, Brady, when they came into Philly, it was Gannon's first year, and they crushed the Eagles. That was where they played soft defense, and Tampa did whatever they wanted. So, look, other than that game, that road game, and that does matter, it was last season, Baker Mayfield's back, Mike Evans is back.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating matchup there. But, again, I like the fact that the Eagles are at full strength. They would be a favorite to me in that game. They should be favored.
Yeah, I know. What's that one? What do we say? Plus 800? That's not a bad one to sprinkle a couple bucks on. That's the one where you say, hey, $50, they get off to a 5-0 start, and you end up with a nice payday at the end. We hope this all paid off for you guys out there listening on a happy hour Friday for Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash with Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. Hey, Adam, the busy season's about to get here.
Yeah, and I'm about to go on my training camp tour in 2 weeks. By the way, on Tuesday's segment, we'll do player props. I found some really interesting ones. where they actually pair up Sixers and Eagles. It's I got to find that one, but we'll do player props on Tuesday.
All right, good stuff, Adam. Appreciate it, man. There's Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, and of course, football at 4 here on the Sports Badge.